Welcome to City Scene. I'm Sophia Mercado, and this is Kathy Sloan.
And you might notice we're not in the studio today. We're not on our usual set. We're here at Pixie Woods to start off the summer, because summertime is time for outdoors in Stockton. Lots of stuff for you and your family to do, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff today.
That's right. In the next half hour, we'll show you a lot of the attractions that Pixie Woods has to offer, and we'll go on an exciting train ride and also a boat ride, along with other surprises that you'll see.
And speaking of surprises, watch very closely when the animal segment comes about.
And speaking of animals, Animal Control Officer Stephen Fortney will be here with those adorable pets of the month.
We're going to have those pets right here with us, but we're going to start off the show talking about another summer activity. It happens every Wednesday evening this summer at Victory Park. It's called Music in the Parks, and it's co-sponsored by the Stockton Musicians Association and Stockton Parks and Recreation Department.
For the last 30 years, Stockton has come to life in the summer nights with the Music in the Park series. The series kick off this month and will continue through mid-August at Victory Park.
Joining us now, we have two people that are very involved in this. Harvey Addy, who's the president of the Stockton Musicians Association, and Bob Langoni, who's the recreation superintendent for the city of Stockton. Welcome to City Scene.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bob, briefly, what is the Music in the Park series?
Music in the Park series is a series of band concerts and musicians, local musicians, selected by the Musicians Union, that perform on Wednesdays for 10 consecutive weeks, and we end in August.
And Bob, what type of music is played at the park?
A variety of music, Latin music this year. We have concert music, swing band, Dixieland,
okay.
and country western. It's a good assortment.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It sure does. And what kind of attendance do you get at these events?
It ranges. It ranges depending on the weather and the band. It can range from 2,500 to 5,000 to 6,000 people.
I understand at one event, either last year or a couple years ago, there were about 6,000 people there.
It was 2 years ago.
Amazing.
Very exciting.
And Harvey, I understand that there's been a trust fund set up by the recording industry music performers. Tell me a little bit about how that trust fund came about and how that ties into the Music in the Park series.
Well, in 1948, James Petrillo, who was president of the American Federation of Musicians, realized that records might be supplementing live music. And so they had negotiation with the recording companies, and what came out of that was a penny or two for every recording. Now it would be CD or cassette tape, goes into this fund. And then that is distributed to the locals by their enrollment membership of the local. And then we asked for co-sponsorship from local organizations, and then that is the money that pays for the park concerts.
So the idea is for people not to sit at home or sit in their cars and listen to music, but get out there and enjoy it.
Enjoy live music, which is really the big thing.
Right, right.
Enjoy the beautiful weather at the same time.
That's right.
And are all the performers at the Music in the Park series, do they all belong to the association?
Just about. Occasionally we'll have a musician, a group that will perform that has one musician that is not a union member who will usually join later on. So they're just about all union members, because the money comes from union people, and it basically goes to union people.
Interesting. And who are some of the musicians that will be performing this?
Well, we're having Earl Good Rocking Brown does a beautiful job on blues. We're having Injustice, which is an alternative rock band. Tom Castle does the traditional country western bands. We're having something a little different this year. We're having a chamber orchestra on June 21st. Which is in connection with the Hagen Museum kickoff of their 2 weeks of concerts, and we've never had an orchestra there before, so it's quite a task, a little different than our band things. We're having 3 concert band concerts, polka band, Latin band, so we're pretty much something for everyone, we hope.
And in addition to music, this year you're trying something a little different, and one of the concerts is going to be an intermission. And
yes, yes, on the July 12th concert at the intermission, we're having a Hawaiian dance troupe, and they're bringing their own musicians and their own dancers, and they're going to perform for the 20-minute intermission at that time.
And those are the Lahuanani dancers. Actually, you may not know this, but they were named after our producer of this segment, Lahuanani. No, I'm just kidding, but I had to give her some credit. Bob, tell me what these concerts are like. If I were to go to one of these concerts for the first time, what can I expect to see in the park?
I think you would see a real community atmosphere. And we've got children coming with their parents, of course, and we've got family and friends gathering. You can have barbecues and just a good get-together to enjoy the outing, the atmosphere, and the music.
Bob, does anyone ever dance while this music is playing?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. And they enjoy themselves. They sit on the lounge chairs, bring their barbecue pits, and have dinner and enjoy the music.
All right. Well, Kathy, you can get out there and dance now, can't you?
Yeah, can't wait for that. Actually, the City Sing crew is planning on going out there one day this summer, one evening, and have a little get-together and bring our barbecues and get
We'll look
back
for
on.
you.
Dance and shoes.
We're very excited about
Have
that.
a good time.
Well, thanks for joining us today. It was real interesting to hear about this event, and I hope everybody really takes advantage of this. And one thing we hadn't really mentioned before we go, we should mention this, that it is a free event.
Yes, positively. Very
It
good.
doesn't cost a penny. Just pack that picnic basket and head on out to Victory Park.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
It's been a
you.
pleasure being here.
As we go to a break, let's take a listen to Earl Goodrock Brown performing at Victory Park.
And remember, recycling is great, and we all need to take part in it by remembering to purchase products that can be recycled. For example, here's a water container that was recycled from 100% post-consumer recycled milk and water jugs. I'm Alicia Durer, and back with Sophie and Kathy.
Now it's time to explore the wonders of Pixie Woods. Earlier, the City Scene crew was here doing some taping for the show, and as they wandered through the Pixie Woods train, Frontier Village, and kids playing, they just couldn't help themselves.
Well, you know, I never realized that Pixie Woods was quite so melodramatic. I can't wait to come back and see if I can find some of those people. Who was that anyway on that track? Well, I understand you were out here. Were you actually conducting the train?
Well, no, they wouldn't let me, Kathy, and I don't know if it's because I don't have my train permit or what it was, but if you'll pay very close attention to the bunny, you might find out something very interesting.
Oh, did you get to pet a bunny while you were out here?
Well, not exactly, but Greg Folsom and I were able to join a kindergarten class from Lottie Grunsky School, and after seeing the reactions on the kids' face, it's very clear that the treasure is still here at Pixie Woods.
Lewis Park and Pixie Woods are perhaps one of Stockton's finest examples of what involved and generous citizens can do to support their community. Parks, of course, need land, a lot of it, and in the early 1900s, Charles Lewis decided that he had more than he needed. On November 19th, 1919, for the payment of $1, he donated to the city 14 acres of open tule land situated along the San Joaquin River. He expressly conditioned his gift that the city use and maintain the land solely for recreational purposes and for a park which now bears his name. Then, as now, rides, slides, trains, and boats that excite, educate, and entertain our children cost money, lots of it. The community responded to the need, and in 1953, social and service organizations such as the Lions, the Pacific Alliance Club, and numerous individuals and businesses pledged financial support. The Pixie Woods Board, incorporated in 1954, formalized and channeled the fundraising efforts, with charter members still active today, 40 years later, active in the continued fundraising events such as the wine tasting fundraiser, held every July. Although formally opened on June 12, 1955, Pixie Woods and Lewis Park have continued to expand, and the community has continued to support that expansion. Perhaps the best example of community involvement at the park is the Pixie Woods train. The railroad ties were contributed by Baxter McCormick and were not only used to lay the track but also to build the first train tunnel and trestle. The Navy Seabees built the trestle, and the rails themselves were obtained from the old rail overcrossing at Harding Avenue. These rails, of course, were standard gauge for a regular train and not usable. A solution was found in trading the rails, pound for narrow gauge mining rails from the foothill mines, which were perfect for the Pixie Woods Express. Each of the train's cars were sponsored by a local service club, which raised the money to purchase the train. But it is the children that are the real beneficiaries, and we managed to get a few to stand still long enough to get their thoughts on the park.
Okay, we're here with Miranda and Janelle? Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, what was your favorite ride here at Pixie Woods?
I like to play and like to get on the slide and I like to get on the bed.
All right, and did you like the volcano when you were on the boat trip? Did you see the volcano?
Yeah.
All right, and how about you, Janelle? Did you like the volcano and the mermaids?
Yeah.
Are you having fun here at Pixie Woods?
Yeah.
What rides have you gone on so far?
I like that and this and the slide and this, and that's the favorite one.
Good. And Joseph, what was your best ride here at Pixie Woods?
All the people
All the people in the city?
And I wanted to fight one bad guy to get him out of the world. And he got pushed off of the wolf, and then I laughed.
Good for you, Joseph. So you like being the captain of the town, right? Pixie Woods town?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys and gals. This has been wonderful here at Pixie Woods. We're coming from a different side, being on the inside looking out, let me tell you. What about you, Greg? What kind of experience has it been for you, being a chicken? I think that meant he had a good time. I think that meant he had a lot of fun. Thank you. Come join us here at Pixie Woods anytime.
I knew there was something about that bunny that was familiar. I just knew it all along. You know, you and Greg are really sports getting into those costumes like that.
Well, they were easy to get into, but very hard to get out of. But it was interesting to see the looks on the children's faces. They really, really enjoyed it. And that enclosure that you did see, Kathy, that is actually intended for live animals, but unfortunately the attrition rate is very high.
No kidding. Well, speaking of animals, we're going to segue right into Steve Fortney from the city's animal control, and he's here with our pets of the month. And Steve, who are we starting off with here?
Thanks. It's nice to be here at Pixie Woods today. This month's pet of the month is a male black and white cat by the name of Boots. He's available for adoption at the pound right now. Please come down and see Boots today and all our other animals that we have available.
Steve, is this cat typical of the cats that you have there at Animal Control?
This is very typical of the cats that we have all the time at the pound. However, I will say that this cat's very calm here this morning, being out front, outside with everybody. He'd make a wonderful pet for somebody, I'm sure.
He's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, who do we have here now, Steve?
This month's dog of the month is Daisy. She's a Rottweiler Shepherd mix. She's about 1.5 years old, female dog, also available for adoption at the pound this month. We've got a large variety of both small and large animals that are all looking for homes down at the shelter. Please come down and see us now.
She is adorable. Look at that face.
Sure is.
Thanks for having me here today.
You bet, Steve. Thanks for joining us at Pixie Woods.
When the land was donated by Charles Lewis in 1919, it was just empty tule land. Someone had to come up with the idea and plans for Pixie Woods and to raise the money to make it happen.
That's right, and we're fortunate today to have two people with us who did just that. They made it happen. Ernie Shropshire and Angel Cruz have been members of the Pixie Woods Board of Directors since 1953, and they are still current members and very active. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Welcome.
Pleasure
Angel,
being here.
Good.
Pixie Woods is a result of community support from private individuals and companies like the Lions and the Rotary.
Yes, that's very true. It originally, basically, it began with service clubs because Mr. Lilly had the original idea of a children's playland. He had seen the playland in Oakland, and he wanted something similar to that. So we went to Oakland, the committee went to Oakland and saw playland there, and we were very much impressed. And we thought, well, if they did it, we could do it too. So we came back and we invited all the several service clubs to come and sit, and the idea was explained to the clubs that were there about having a playground for the children. The area had been selected. At that time, the area that was selected was not as large as it is now. It was about half. But the city went ahead and secured the additional land to expand, such as we have now. Okay. But the money raising began with service clubs, and it began with our Stockton Lions Club. It is now known as the Host Stockton Lions Club, which I'm a member of. I was a president in 1952 and 53. And subsequently after that, Mr. Nelson, who was very active also, that helped me a great deal in soliciting funds for the building of Pixie Woods. We solicited service clubs to begin with. Our club, we were the initial starters with $2,500. And we wanted that $2,500 to go towards the building of the castle. And then the Pacific Alliance Club came along, which Ernie was a member at the time, and they had a project. And it was always very interesting to remember some of these projects, how they were started, and the building, and the ways and means how we were going to do it. But anyway, Ernie raised money, and I believe it was $1,500, wasn't it, Ernie, that you contributed for the building of the Billy Goat Gruff?
Oh, the Billy Goat Gruff. Angel, can you tell us about opening day?
The what?
The opening day.
Oh, the opening day. It was the latter part of, if I recall correctly, it was the latter part of May, or am I getting it confused with Swenson Park?
July.
In July.
What was it?
So in the summer.
July? Summertime. Yes, it was quite a day. And we had a lot of people here. We had people all the way strung out to beyond the parking lot that wanted to come through.
I'm sure the folks of Stockton were.
It was very, very nice. We had a very gala ribbon cutting, and we had a little ceremony, and it was very nice.
Ernie, I took a ride in the boat, and it felt very safe. I heard that about 40 years ago was quite an adventure. Tell us about that.
Well, this is very interesting, and being on the board all those years, it was quite a shock for me to be standing on the dock, which is now where the railroad tunnel is located. And of course, the park was not as developed as it is now. In fact, that area over there where the train station and the boat dock is now was not even fenced in. It was sort of public park yet. And I had some friends with us from out of town, and we had small children, and it was a busy Sunday afternoon, and the boat that we had there had a capacity about 21 passengers and little benches on the boat, and then etc. And my friend and I were standing there conversing with each other, and lo and behold, I look across the pond and I see the boat take water in from the transom, and then just conveniently tipped over. I thought, my God, my family's drowning. Our son was about 1.5 years old. Well, my first inclination was save everybody, so of course I kicked off my shoes, swam with my clothes across the lake as rapidly as I could, which seemed like an eternity. And when I got there, it was very laughable. When I stood up, I think the water was waist deep. Another interesting
real brave,
thing,
isn't he?
Yeah, real great. And then in addition to that, I sank about 3 feet in the silt. But there was a couple of Portuguese sailors that were visiting the park and just taking the Sunday afternoon off, and they very neatly took their clothes off, folded them up in a pile, and waded in to help save everybody. Well, of course, we got everybody off the boat, and needless to say, Ladd built the second boat we have, which you see now, which was a much better boat, and that boat was transferred over to Stowe Lake in Oakland, or San Francisco. But it was very interesting.
So they've got the sinking boat now. Sorry.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
But I understand over the last 40 years that some celebrities have visited Pixie Woods. Can you fill us in on that?
As the park gradually developed, we sought other means of raising money, and in that includes celebrities. Now, I just noticed in going through some of the old newspapers clippings that the Ink Spots did a thing at Delta College once for us for a fundraising drive. And then Maurer and Margin and Gower Campion came and with a sorority brought them in to raise money for us, and they put on a show for us. And I think probably the most famous celebrities that we would have now is Sonny and Cher. And we asked for the use of the football field at UOP and thought we'd just have a fabulous crowd. And we had a very mediocre crowd. In fact, it was very slim, and it rained that day. And nobody knew who Sonny and Cher was in those days.
Okay, I've got you, babe. Wasn't around, or?
That's right, yeah. It was shortly after that they made the big time.
Okay.
Well, I think the most memorable thing we have about that whole occasion is that they had their daughter's birthday here, Chastity. And they had a birthday party here in Pixie Woods for Chastity. So
you've both been connected with this board for about 40 years now. Is there any a new generation coming on board with support?
Unfortunately, we don't have the group of young people that would be the contemporaries today as it was in our day when we started it. And Angel and I were just laughing at the pictures we had of us when we first started Pixie Woods. You know, there's no resemblance of what we are now. But we would certainly, I would like to say that this park has been a real community effort. If you go back through all the newspaper articles and the publicity we've gotten, you see that all the service clubs, the city personnel, Parks Department, just John Q. Citizen would come and donate to Pixie Woods. They'd come here. The different groups would come in and do toadstool theaters productions.
Right.
And I think it's probably the one of the boards that I've served on year after year in the community that has had just a great following, and it's had a lot of ongoing things.
Right. Say there's a family and they've got some young kids and they're interested in this place and they want to get on the board and they want to help it out. How would they go about getting
We
involved?
would give them a warm invitation just to come and contact anybody. And Jo Wentz is on the board. She's been a very leading figure. Gunter Knoll, the city of Stockton, is you know, from a number of years have been on the board, and we have members that have been on the board. You know, I think Angel and I go back to 1953, and we have members on the board that have been 30, 35 years on the board, and everybody is...
Would they need to call someone, Ernie, or how would they...
Well, they could call the Park and Recreation Department. They could refer them to our board. I think that would probably be the easiest way to do it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen.
It's been a pleasure. Anytime we can do anything for Pixie Woods, Angel and I, just please call on us. We're anxious to have the ongoing project, and certainly nice being here.
Dorotha Pitts has been the director for Pixie Woods for the last 25 years. We'll take a visit with Dorotha right after this message from the library.
Hi, I'm Diane Bills, librarian at the Southeast Branch Library. Today we are on the site of the future Southeast Branch. We are currently located in a leased storefront on Airport Way. Our facility is too small to serve the needs of our patrons. The city plans to replace this facility with a larger building here on Park Lane, just south of 9th Street. The firm of Winnell, Mathis, Bow has designed a modern library that will be inviting and accessible to library patrons and includes a community meeting room. We have funds to purchase art for the building that reflects the Southeast community. The city's request for proposals process is for works of art to be displayed in the library's main entrance. Artists are invited to submit their proposal or proposals that illustrates their concepts for the work or works of art. Cooperatives of artists and students are encouraged to submit proposals. To obtain your copy of the request for proposals, come by the Southeast Branch Library at 2326 South Airport Way or call Mike Healy at 937-8389.
Welcome to City Scene, Dorotha.
Welcome to Pixie Woods.
Thank you very much. Dorotha, the kids we saw earlier on the school tour were having such a great time. How can people set up school tours to come to Pixie Woods?
They can call Parks and Recreation at City Hall, 937-8220, and set up their reservation.
And when children come on school tours, is lunch provided in the cost?
No, it is not. We charge $2 per person per child. That's entrance to the park, a ride on each ride, train, merry-go-round, and the boat, and then they play in the park as long as they have the time. They can buy a lunch at $1.25 that includes punch, hot dog, and chips, but they buy that through the concession.
Well, that sounds great. Now, what about the general public? If they would like to visit Pixie Woods, what are the hours and how much does it cost to get in?
We're open weekends, 12 to 5 until June the 7th. Then we start staying open weekdays, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 11 to 5, Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 6. The cost is $1.50 per adult, $1 for children 2 years through 12. Okay. Under 2 is free, and the rides are 60 cents each for all ages.
Wow.
And can the public rent the park for birthday parties?
We have birthday parties. They're $3 per person. We don't do them for less than 12 people, but we do as many as they choose. Okay. That includes admission to the park, cake, ice cream, balloons, punch, and the table setup.
Great deal. My birthday's coming up.
We may
At
have
my
it
party
here.
here. How many people come to Pixie Woods each year? Just a rough estimate.
About 59,000.
Wow, that is amazing. It sounds like there's something here for everybody, Dorothy.
It
Thanks
is.
for
It's a
joining us.
fun, safe place for everybody. The parents can sit on the bench and let the children run and play through the park.
And for parents, it's very economical. Very economical.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us here today, Dorothy.
Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, this concludes our exciting look at Pixie Woods, and I must admit that I had a wonderful time here at Pixie Woods. I'd like to give special thanks to Ernie Shropshire and Angel Cruz, and also an extra special thanks to the fair maiden Melba, Dastardly Dan, and Barrister Bob for their part in our melodrama.
We'd also like to thank Bob Langoni and Harvey Addy, who came in and talked to us about the Music in the Park series every Wednesday night at Victory Park.
Next month, we'll take a look at the wastewater expansion project, the city's garage, and we'll pedal around town with the Stockton Police Department's bike patrol.
Sounds like the city's garage. Is that like where I park my car? That's probably something a little different. We had a call last month from a viewer who would like to see us do a segment on some historical Stockton landmarks and a little bit on the history of Stockton. And we plan to do that in the very near future, and we certainly appreciate the suggestion.
If you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to call the city manager's office at 937-8212. And please drop us a line at City Hall, 425 North Alvarado Street, Stockton, California, 95202.
Be sure to join us next month and every month
when we bring the city to you on Channel 42.
Ah!